I think something that the family is passionate about is and I say this a lot, that there are plenty of other tailors out there. We just happen to be, someone that was able to hold on, for so very long. And at one point, I think my uncle coined this at one point. At some point, we were too stupid to realize we were supposed to fail. So,
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
So, and so a lot of people consider us to be sort of the exception to the rule, and
Definitely.
I never accept that. There's plenty of tailors and tailors in the making out here.
Wow.
Stay focused, get ready now. For real, get ready now. Let's go. Stay focused, hear the heat come. Concentrate to the sound of the beat.
Hello, good people, and welcome back to The Blueprint. I'm your host, Sean Harris, and today I have a very special guest with us. It's KENDRA Dinkins, and she is a very good friend of mine, colleague, and even a healthy competitor in the construction business. Also the president emeritus of an organization called Black Contractors, Owners, and Executives. And also, I'm very proud and happy to say and announce the president of a construction business called Taylor Electric, and they are going to be 100 years in business. And I'm gonna give you my hand clap right now for you and your family. Congratulations on celebrating 100 years in business. Being here on The Blueprint, that's one of the things that we want to do is talk about how we get businesses to 100 years in business. It's really important to our communities and just small businesses in general, how to get your business to be sustainable and how that longevity could happen to your family and your business. So, KENDRA, thanks for joining me today, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you even got in the business and Madam President. Tell us all about yourself.
Well, a little bit about me. I'm actually, I guess maybe you can call me actually an educator by trade. So I did not come into this. I didn't come into this business in a straightforward path. As you find with a lot of family businesses, you've got a lot of people kind of in the wings and some people helping out here and helping out there. And I just sort of, this was not necessarily the path that I wanted to envision for myself. I actually wanted to go to trade school. My dad would not allow me to.
Get out of there. I didn't know that.
Yes. So my dad was an electrician for almost 38 years. 33 or 34 of them were spent with Taylor Electric. In his eyes, he worked his butt off, and he didn't want his daughters to, go the same path he does. Right. He wants us to level up. So he required that all of us go to college. He was like, no, you're not. I ain't busting my butt out here.
So you could be next to me in this ditch.
Exactly.
Right. The porta potty's over there.
Because in his head, it's back in the times when everybody's pumping a college education, and that's the way you want to go. And so I went to Shaw University, a small HBCU out in Raleigh, North Carolina. Go Bears. And I actually majored in biology. And got my certification as an athletic trainer, so was a sports medicine specialist, was teaching and coaching and working with kids for a pretty long time. I was working at an all-girls boarding school, actually, and was just taking on too much, me and how I do. It's a pattern I've continued into.
It ain't a problem that I can't fix.
We can get into that later.
Yeah.
But, so, I had taken on, a whole lot of different hats and was kind of excelling in my career, but also was getting a little burnt out. So I had moved from North Carolina to Chicago temporarily. Took a year off, was working a little bit here and there, helping the family out. And I started interviewing in other boarding schools. And my dad, I guess, decided he didn't want me to leave. So there was a temporary position in the accounting office. And next thing you know, here I am.
How many years ago was that?
That was in 2007. I came into the accounting office just as a bookkeeper. This is the longest
temporary position I've ever heard of.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I came in 2007, and of course, that recession hit in 2008. Yeah. For a lot of construction firms, that it really didn't start to hit people till like 2010, 2011. Yeah. So we had to start downsizing. to be able to kind of keep up for, the downsizing work and the losses people were taking here and there. And so I went from bookkeeper to controller to, helping out with office management to being the marketing specialist. And I was the one out on job sites, taking pictures and making sure, certain things were happening. Then I was back up to some of the, project managers helping out, being a problem solver, talking with the owners, talking with other folks. Then I'm talking with the banks and I'm dealing with the banks and I'm, just kind of doing a little bit more and more to the point where, my cousin, it was just, it was time. She had wanted, she had been holding on to the company as long as she could for 20 years. So she actually came in. She actually came in a roundabout way as well. So the story of Taylor Electric, I guess we can start there. Story of Taylor Electric starts with my great-grandfather, Sam Taylor, in 1922. And he of course, he actually was part of the Great Migration. Migrated from Alabama to Michigan, actually, and would drive into Chicago, spend the weeks in Chicago, and sometimes the weekends back in Michigan.
We're gonna have to investigate that. My family from Alabama too. We might be cousins. You don't even know it.
We might be.
All right, cuz, go ahead and finish telling the story.
So he actually was, true entrepreneur. He actually used to sell bathtub gin, and he actually had 2 speakeasies in the South Loop.
Did you say bathtub gin?
Bathtub gin. That's what he.
So that's gonna be my new business, you guys. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm coming out with that bathtub gin. If you ain't had some, you need some, and you want to drink in the tub, you're gonna get that bathtub gin. We're gonna have something ready for you on the next episode. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, he had 2 speakeasies. And then he, found him a godly woman, decided he was going to go legit. And he had a job working as a janitor in one of the trade schools. So he ordered the books. He actually couldn't order them on his own. He had to find a white friend to order the books for him.
Wow.
Because back then they wouldn't deliver books to black folks. Because again, a lot of people don't understand all the little things, structural little things that kept black folks away from being able to educate themselves, to better themselves, to further themselves. So he found a white friend to order the books. He taught himself to trade. He begged and begged the school to let him take the test to get licensed, and they finally did, and he was able to take the test. Then he, had to go out and work for contractors for free because nobody would hire him.
For free.
He worked for free.
Just to be able to learn the trade.
Just to be able to learn the trade. So he did that for a little while until he finally was, able to break out on his own, which we think is actually around 1921, 1922. And then he ran he also worked at Blue Star Auto as well. And, on the side, he did all kinds of side jobs. So he ran the company until I'm going a roundabout way because we started talking about transition. So I wanted to get you an understanding of our transitions to the 3rd and 4th generation.
So Sam Taylor was the first.
Sam Taylor was the first, and he had 3 sons and a daughter. And 2 of his sons, Rufus Taylor and Martin Taylor, and his daughter, Jessie Taylor. So when he passed away, he had actually Rufus was already in the business. He was VP at the time. He was, the heir apparent. There was, we had that structure in place, and so by the time Sam passed, Rufus had already sort of, was in the place to take over the company. He took over in, I want to say 1969.
So Sam Taylor was your
My great-grandfather.
Your great-grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Rufus Taylor
was my great-uncle.
Your great-uncle. Got it.
And so Rufus took over the company about 1969. And a lot of folks, when you ask around the industry, when you ask about Taylor Electric, it's Rufus is what they ask about. They always are like, they remember
Everybody
him.
says that they love Rufus.
Yes.
Everyone here in Chicagoland, they all know Rufus. Rufus Taylor was a great man.
He was a larger-in-life character, brutally honest, but also had a heart of gold. So a lot of people in the industry knew him. He took Taylor Electric from like a small mom and pop shop to, what is known as, on a precipice of being a multi-million-dollar sort of company. We were still pretty small, and I want to say the certification, MBE and DBE program came in about the late 80s, mid to late 80s, and we became certified, and we started picking up even more work and getting even more well-known in the industry. We had that structure there. We already was a functioning company, but that kind of exposed us to more people.
And in terms of you have competition. Taylor has competition right now with other black electrical contractors, right? Mm-hmm. But back during that time, it had to be, very minimal competition or very few other black contractors, period, that were kind of working on the level that you guys were, right?
Probably so. I wouldn't say our competition wasn't. We weren't necessarily in competition with other black contractors. We were in competition with the stigma. We were in competition with the culture. We were in competition with the time frame.
Racism.
Mm-hmm. Like Sam actually had the nickname Shotgun Sam because he used to have to sleep on his job sites with a shotgun, or else he'd come back and all the pipe and wire be pulled.
You got to be kidding me. Mm-mm. He had he was security and managing his own job sites.
Yes. When he first was able to get a license and started pulling permits, folks would find where he was working, and they would come sabotage his job sites.
That's just, these folks are just terrible back then, just terrible. Mm-hmm. They already had everything, and they didn't want to even share a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Not even a little bit. Wow.
So, and even to this day, that's still part of the competition. We compete against each other, but we also still compete against that underlying, thread of bias and racism.
Absolutely, because still to this day, not wanting to jump too far ahead, but they just, the perception is probably not much different now than it was back then that, they can't do this work. Exactly. Or I doubt they can self-perform, or let's just allow them to pass through. Let's just give them a couple of bucks and have them, buy some material, what have you. Mm-hmm. Not that, this is a full functioning business that actually has employees, that has overhead, and knows how to do this work.
Oh, yeah. I still have those conversations right now. The last few weeks, I will sit down with somebody new, doesn't quite know who we are or something like that. And the conversation starts with the assumption that, A, we're not going to finish the job. B, we're not going to, be able to pay our vendors, or we're not going to be able to man the job properly like we're going to, like we're already, working on these defaults and kind of, fighting our way, kind of getting out of the box just to be able to, perform.
Do you think folks are just kind of really ignorant to the fact of the challenges that we have to go through as black contractors, minority contractors, of trying to be just as successful as our white counterparts? Do you think they get it, that we have these additional barriers that we have to, these hoops that we have to jump through?
No, I don't think. I don't think they fully get it. Just like, we were talking today, like a lot of folks don't realize all those little itty bitty things, like not even being able to order a book to educate yourself and little stuff like that. How that historically kind of kept us back from being able to really have the full advantages that everybody else did. Right. So, they look at the MBE program and the DBE program as, so maybe they had a little bit of problems in the past, and now we're just handing them work, and they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to run it. They don't know how to do this and do that. And they don't understand that, historically, financially, we've been held back from so many different things. And, a lot of folks, they've got that, and within their family, they got that generational wealth that passes on from generation to generation, and we're not able to pass that on as much. So when you get an entrepreneur in this time and age, and they're just starting off, they might not have the backing of their uncle or somebody else, or somebody else who's can be able to throw some money into the business for you. They're starting off at a deficit.
The conversation a lot of times we hear from black contractors and contractors alike across the board, small businesses, access to capital. But I think it's more than access to capital. I think it's also access to good customers, because quite frankly, good customers create your capital. You know, if I had a consistent customer, I had a dedicated customer to seeing, you know, our businesses thrive, I think that would be the bridge that we wouldn't need all these additional high-priced loans from the bank and from these different programs. Great that they're there, and great the banks are willing to help when they can, but quite frankly, all day long, I need a good customer that can pay their bills and pay on time. I shouldn't have to wait 120 days or a year or more, which we have both experienced in this industry, right? To get our money so that we can pay our employees, we can pay our bills. And here's the thing, our white counterparts, the majority contractors, they, because of their perceived degree of excellence with what they do, they're handed more opportunities than we are. Not to say that they all are handed contracts and opportunities, but as we kind of talked earlier, they're perceived to be better, and because they have been around longer, the industry kind of belongs to them, which it doesn't. And now we have our customers thinking, let me just go the easy route and just give it to somebody that we've always given it to, and that way we won't have to worry about it, right? And that's not fair. That's not fair. Just how do we get this American piece of the pie, right, when we are constantly always pushed to the side to say, hey, it's not your turn yet. It's not your turn yet. Well, on the next job, maybe on the next one. But I'm glad companies like Taylor Electric have been able to stand the test of time through this storm to demonstrate, given the opportunity, even when it's not easy, we are able to stay in business and continue to thrive in business for the foreseeable future. And you guys have done that. One thing I wanted to go back to was Rufus, right? Rufus was so larger than life that, you know, that you mentioned earlier. I mean, to the point where there's an award that is set up just in his name. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So one of the many boards that Rufus Taylor sat on during his tenure at Taylor was actually the March of Dimes. He was they were passionate about it. He sat on their Chicago Market Board, and him and a few other contractors, actually, most of them still here, like Sue Hurley from Cable Communications. They decided that they were going to create sort of this this luncheon or an award, sort of an award. I think it may have even started out as a dinner, to kind of recognize the construction community. And so Rufus Taylor was a part of that original committee, and they had their very first, it was the March of Dimes Construction and Transportation Luncheon. And I want to say it was, I should know this, about 27, 28 years ago. Wow. They had their very first inaugural ceremony, and they actually awarded Rufus Taylor the Subcontractor of the Year award. And that was early spring, and unfortunately, in August of that year, Rufus Taylor was carjacked and murdered, which just devastated a lot of folks in the construction industry, but of course the Taylor family as well. But March of Dimes also just felt so strongly about what he had done for them and what he had done for the construction community that they renamed the Subcontractor of the Year award to the Rufus Taylor Award. And so since then, you know, the Taylor Electric Company, our family, has been, you know, still heavily involved in March of Dimes. They're a really great organization. They follow the science and not the politics. They're really good about honing in on what's really causing, you know, health problems for moms and babies. And if it's, you know, if it's the focus is Black women, they will unapologetically say the focus needs to be Black women today. You know, so I really support them in all their endeavors. And so I still sit on the Chicago Market Board right now, and I also used to chair the construction and transportation event, but now I just sit on the committee and let a few other folks, you know, run the show. But it's a really good organization, a really good luncheon. Some of the best and the brightest of the construction industry get together every year. And so it's going to be in October, I think October 7th. Okay. Yeah.
So we got to make sure we're there. I remember What year was that Rufus was killed?
1995.
Yeah, I was just out of high school. Just still even thinking about getting into the trade. I wasn't even in the trade yet. And I do remember my my brother-in-law and him talking about, what a tragic loss that was for the industry. Just knowing he was like 10 feet tall when it came to, black contractors in Chicago. Yeah, we really miss, having leaders like that in our community. We need more of them. And when they get taken from us like that, it really hurts.
Absolutely.
Take us back to the transition after Rufus now. What was that when the next president came along?
So that was, and that was, I don't say necessarily a rocket transition, but it was just sort of a very unexpected transition. Rufus's son at the time, Brian Taylor, was just an apprentice. He actually had him working at another contractor, which is good for him to, learn, get exposure and not be treated as the boss's son. His oldest daughter was working in accounting in another job, and she was a grieving daughter on a Friday, and she was president and CEO of Taylor Electric on a Monday.
Wow. So now she's pretty much thrown into the business to, help pick up the pieces and keep it moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. At the time, my dad was working at the company. He was a superintendent. And so the family kind of sat down. They figured out what they wanted to do. They were talking about maybe possibly closing the doors. Because, who replaces Rufus? Even in the family, we're just, we were devastated. And, how do you move on from that? And my dad had a lot of confidence in my cousin Martha. He was like, if she can handle the office portion, I'll take care of the field. And so that's how they did it. She became president and CEO. We moved my dad he became vice president, chief of operations. First time we had like a chief of operations position. And they went and continued on to run the company up until my dad passed. It is 2022?
Yeah.
My dad passed in 2012. It does not seem like
Yeah.
it's been that long, but it's been 10 years now since he passed away. And then in 2013 is when we started the transition from Martha, and me and my sister, we bought out Martha. And then my cousin Brian, who was an electrician in the field at the time, he's vice president as well and owns a portion of the company. So it's a mixture of third and fourth generation ownership right now.
Wow, yeah. That is fantastic. That is wonderful. So the Taylors and the Dinkins. Mm-hmm. So I know I have made the mistake several times calling you Kendra Taylor, but it's Kendra Dinkins.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Right. Because you're on the sister's side.
Exactly. So I mentioned before, Sam had 3 sons and a daughter. That daughter, Jessie Taylor, married a Dinkins, and that's where you get the whole Dinkins clan from.
So is there, let's talk a little bit maybe behind the scenes. They're not here to defend themselves, so we can talk about the everybody else in the family. So how does it work behind the scenes with making decisions? I know your older sister, you're the president, and now she's working kind of underneath you. How does all that work, and you being kind of brought into the business to run things?
Yeah, I try not to think of it, and we try not to handle it as, okay, I'm working above this person or below this person. Because at the end of the day, we all got some ownership stake in here.
Right.
Everybody and their mama, getting paid one way or the other because they're working, either working in the warehouse or, working in the office or working in the field or something like that. So everybody's got a stake in it. So when I have to make a large decision, when there's something that's going to, really affect, everybody in their futures, I bring them in. I let them know this is what I want to do. This is why I want to do it. And this is, how I plan on doing it. The family usually backs me up. I really don't have any, we don't have any big rifts or anything like that.
The family reunion is still intact.
Family reunion is still intact. So we get together every year. It is a requirement. Sam required the family to get together every Thanksgiving. And we try not to talk too much business because because it can kind of hurt. I mean, we've had some touchy times where, Thanksgiving usually used to be Thanksgiving, everybody come in on Wednesday, we leaving out on Sunday. Like, it was just a 4 or 5 day affair. All the family was together and stuff like that. And, there's been some rocky and rough years where, Thanksgiving was about a couple hours. And
Right. No. I had to work last weekend. No. I'm not coming in. No, forget all that.
No, we always got together. We always sorted it out. We always worked it out. I think for the most part is trying to understand that, I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to see the company succeed. They might have a different vision on how it gets done. They might have a different philosophy on what happens there. And that's what's really important in family conversations, to make sure that you're really listening and really listening. Just because it's something I want and I think it's best for the company doesn't mean that's best for the family, and the family comes first.
I like that.
So it's really different because, like, you have to, I think with every president that we've had, some have had kind of different visions on what they wanted from the company. And I think allowing those people to have that agency is really important, because a lot of folks, wondering, like, why aren't you like the biggest, baddest contractor out there? Why aren't you all this huge and everything? Rufus never really wanted to get that big. Rufus hated having that much work. He had great relationships. We had some really big jobs going here and there, but he did not want to get that big. When Martha came in, her sole objective is keep the doors open. And that's what she did for 20 years.
And keep it a family business.
And keep it a family business. And she succeeded. She held it on for 20 years until she was ready to let it go. And, my goal mainly has been to make sure that we stay whole. And, I came in right before the recession. So it was a really rocky time financially for the company. Right. And so my goal was, just let's lift us back up. Let's get back to where, we're in this steady place. And, my ultimate goal is, make sure that everybody in the family and everybody that works for Taylor isn't wanting for anything. Like, we can be big and bad if we want to, but we got to make sure that we've got all the fundamentals in place, that we, are making sure that we've got all the tools in place, so that when we do grow or do get a little bit bigger, or the next time or another recession hits, or when COVID hits, we're not going to be in dire straits. That's just been my, whole goal and my whole focus.
What do you see now as now that it's under your leadership, and I guess the family's leadership now, what's the vision for Taylor moving forward? What do you see as your guys' future? Another 100 years, of course, right?
Yeah, hopefully another 100 years. I think something that the family is passionate about is, and I say this a lot, that there are plenty of other Taylors out there. We just happen to be, someone that was able to hold on, for so very long. And at one point, I think my uncle coined this at one point. At some point, we were too stupid to realize we were supposed to fail. So,
I'm good with that.
So, and so a lot of people consider us to be sort of the exception to the rule, and I never accept that. There's plenty of Taylors and Taylors in the making out here. Wow. Yeah. And so, one thing that we're doing as we're rolling out our 100th anniversary is we actually founded our own 501c3 called Taylor Electric Cares.
Wow.
So a few decades ago, we used to have a Sam Taylor Memorial Scholarship Fund for minorities and women who wanted to get into construction through engineering. So it was, if you were majoring in engineering, especially electrical engineering, you can apply for the Sam Taylor Scholarship. It was through, was it through UNCF? I can't remember who it was through. But we kind of, as the family kind of kept transitioning and crazy times were happening, we kind of let that go, and we wanted to get back to that. So we started with that concept that we wanted to do, another, scholarship fund, but we was like, we can also do better. We can do more than that. So we started focusing on workforce development, and also the scholarship fund. And also we want to get to the point where we're, giving out microloans to smaller businesses, or helping folks who want to transition from the trades to opening up their own business. We want to hit it on every level. We need more folks in the field. We need more folks in the office, estimating engineers, project managers, and we also need more in ownership. It's whatever path you want to take. I think there's nothing wrong with, wanting to be and stay a tradesman all your life. There's nothing wrong with saying you're going to be the biggest, baddest contractor out there. I think either one, I'm going to cheer, applaud, and support you in any way humanly possible.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I know what it's like to really be in business and in this construction industry, running live wire and being a business owner and taking care of your own folks, and also outside of that, looking out for other folks. This, whether they become your project manager for the future or another business owner and following their dreams, and you guys are supporting that, and that's huge. Mm-hmm. And the story is out there that, we don't help each other. And this is another example of how we do help each other and how we do put money behind actually helping one another to be successful. And I think that's great. I'd say one of the biggest lessons that I've learned watching the Taylor Electric family do business. I think one time we had a conversation. I was like, isn't it difficult to work with family and business? And and you're like, hey, it's hard, but it's worth it. And I can definitely, you guys set a fantastic example as a family doing business. So if you guys, humbugging over there on 79th Street and 79th to Stony, I don't know about it. And we in the public don't hear about it, but I can definitely tell you, you guys set a fantastic example as a family doing business together, walking through tough times and celebrating great times together. We see that and we celebrate you in those 100 years, and we really all support you moving forward. One other thing that I just want to touch on is something that we mentioned earlier about you being the president emeritus for Black Contractors, Owners, and Executives. Mm-hmm. That was an organization that, I was an inaugural president and one of the founding members, and as well as you and your family and others. Can you give us maybe a snapshot of your contribution to the organization during your tenure as president, and kind of how you feel about things going on now?
Well, I had a quick little 2-year run there. You're
the COVID president.
So, I still sit on the board. I still support in any way possible. But to your point, like I said, we're always about helping each other and lifting each other up. And so when you came up with the idea of us getting together, and when you came up with the idea of, let's turn this into something real and something that's, that we can help other folks and help other contractors get to where we are, I was on board, and so we started off, it was just literally just a handful of us. Yeah. Through your tenure and then through mine. I had, I've got a little bit of a background. I sit on a few other boards, and so I was able to take some of that experience and take some of that knowledge and kind of try my best to sort of formalize things within our board members and just sort of solidify kind of what we had, the ideas and everything together, and try to help, solidify that, and, also kind of give it that visibility that, that the Taylor name has,
Yeah.
We don't mind, like, everybody's got their, their strengths and weaknesses within the industry, and one of our strengths is the longevity we have and the name that we have. And I'm more than willing to kind of pull that card or use that sword anytime I want or anytime I need to help a cause or help a friend or help a family member whenever it's needed. So I'm hoping that's what I was able to do for the organization. It's something I continue to do. It's probably, I tell you guys all the time, is one of my favorite boards that I'm able to be a part of. I know that, it might be a 2-hour, morning meeting, but I know that I'm going to be sitting amongst friends and family, that I'm going to be able to talk honestly, that I'll be received in a way that makes sense. I've been invited to a lot of different tables where you're just at the table and, there to check a box, where,
Right.
You're not there, you're there to be seen and not necessarily heard or not necessarily valued. And this organization is there, we value our people. We value our people on the board. We value our members. We value all of our friends and sponsors that come and help along. Anybody who's there for the cause, we value them. And it's huge. You feel it. You feel it in the meetings. You feel it in our events. And, so when people come, when people come, they want to join immediately. They want to get involved. They want to see how they're going to, come help out. And I think that's amazing.
I know we started with this, spirit of friendship, right? And what I'm very proud of is that spirit of family and friendship that we started the organization with. It continues to thrive and emote through our relationships and how we work with each other and partner with each other sometimes in doing business. This organization is something that we can all be very proud of in the Black community, to say that we've gotten it right. We've learned how to work with each other as partners, as friends, and give each other some hard advice sometimes. I know as my inaugural presidency, hey, this was the first time that I was doing something like this, and Kendra definitely stepped up and gave me, some tidbits and some advice on how we keep this organization run right and keep it moving forward, and to make sure that it grows and continues to do what it's supposed to do, and that's help our communities be successful. And you're definitely doing that over at Taylor Electric. And tell the family we really appreciate all that you guys represent. Michelle and the rest of the family, we really appreciate you all, and we definitely want you to come back and tell us about the events that you guys have coming up to celebrate. I think those are really important. I hope I'm invited. I know I'm invited. If I'm not invited, I'm showing up anyway.
You RSVP.
I did RSVP.
Somebody RSVP.
So tell us about how you're celebrating and this 100-year, your 100 years in business.
So it's a 3-day affair. We've got like a food truck Friday event kind of going on at the shop. Something a little bit more casual, a lot for the family, and a lot of employees and the kids can come run around and stuff like that. And then that Saturday, we're going to be in South Loop at May District. And that area we kind of chose because that's actually where Sam got his start. Was in that South Loop area. And one of the things that, we don't put in our brochure, but Sam actually used to do a lot of work for Mr. Capone, Al Capone.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
And, I mentioned the whole bathtub gin and the two speakeasies and stuff like that.
Oh, there's a shotgun coming in there. Okay.
So a lot of people, especially on the South Side, if you want to do business on the South Side, you've got to pay Mr. Capone for the pleasure of doing business on the South Side of Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And so he still had some relationships from that. And so it was like a lot of light work, changing out bulbs and stuff like that, and putting in certain little things. And so this building that we're actually having the party on Saturday in used to be owned by Al Capone. So there's probably an 80 to 90% chance that Sam Taylor did work in that building. Wow. So it was just like when we walk through the space, it's a really gorgeous event space, and then kind of rechecking and double checking the history, we're like, this is where we need to be. Yeah. And then on Saturday it's just a brunch for some family and friends and stuff like that. And just kind of send folks off because we got family coming in from everywhere. So a lot of times with Thanksgiving, usually on Saturday, we get together and have like a big brunch, and then we send everybody off on their planes and stuff like that. So this is just a variation of that.
And then make a couple extra pies for good friends like me. I sure do appreciate those pies. Girl, you can cook. So I definitely want to thank you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart of coming out here and on the Blueprint and telling us about your family legacy and showing us and giving us the blueprint on how to actually do that in our own businesses moving forward. Is there anything that you want to say to those young business owners that are looking on ways on how to keep their business going for 100 years?
I think consistency. What you do consistently is, because a lot of, and you find in this industry, it's a lot of times it's about word of mouth. Like you get one good customer and they like you and stuff. They're gonna tell a few other folks like, okay, all right, they're okay,
Right.
they're okay.
Keep your name good in these streets. That's right.
So make sure that you hone in on your craft and you do well at what you do. It's how Sam survived. If he wasn't good at what he did, I mean, we would not be here today. So
Integrity in your business.
integrity in your business, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you all for joining us here on The Blueprint. We're going to put the link to Taylor Electric down below. Please subscribe to the channel. We're going to be bringing on more businesses like Taylor Electric, hopefully that are on the precipice of 100 years being in business, but definitely those businesses that if you want to showcase yourself and on this channel, we're here to help you. And so until next time, we'll see you soon.